welcome. Today is Tuesday, June 10th at 7 p.m. Thank you for joining the Jamaica Selectboard regular meeting. My first order of business is to call for any late additions to the agenda. Was there something we needed to sign?
The Sheriff's Department contract, but we
Oh,
haven't
it came
really
in?
looked at it.
Oh, I haven't looked at it. Can we put it on the next one?
I think so.
Okay.
I didn't see an email where we had a deadline to sign it, but it's coming up.
Okay. I'll put it on for next week, actually.
It's probably before the fiscal, so we have next week.
Right.
Okay, good.
Well, yeah, we should look at that.
Great. Anyone else with a late addition?
Another agenda?
Oh, will you slide down another copy of the agenda, please, Fred? Okay, the next order of business is to approve the minutes from the May 28th regular meeting of the Select Board. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or changes? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Terrific, thank you. Approved. Thank you. One quick thank you to Mike Teller for taking minutes. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.
Yes.
For everything.
All right, the next order of business is our regular FEMA update. I'll make the first one, which is our M&T loan that we are applying for. That's going to cover, among other things, our current, actually second payment to the Education Department of the state of Vermont. And we have submitted all the materials. There was one question that came back. Even though Sarah's out, she did address that. So the bank is working hard to close that loan for us. Council is already engaged and is ready to deliver their opinion. So knock on wood, we'll close that this week or next week.
Council will be in our council?
Our council, yes, from Primer.
Oh,
He's done, he did the most
Okay.
recent Vermont Bond Bank,
okay,
and he did the prior one.
right. Okay.
The state of Vermont and most banks that work with municipalities have a very small stable of firms that they're willing to work with. So that's the one that Jamaica used before I was on the board, but I also know them. It's a great firm. So, and he's terrific. If you ever had a question, just let me know and I'll give you his email.
Okay.
So the next, actually, there's a couple items, Mike. I'm going to look to you. First is the windshield survey. Loved that.
Sure.
Lingo.
Windshield right now.
Yeah, just in case anybody wonders, a windshield survey is simply when a group of folks who are examining, in this case, potential areas where we need some mitigation, flood recovery mitigation, in their cars. So you're basically examining the site through your windshield, hence the windshield survey lingo. Okay, so one was held 1 week ago today.
Correct.
In the morning.
We had a couple folks. We had Marie Caduto, who works for the Watershed Division of the state, who was involved in studying this area 20 years ago. And we also had the engineers from Stone Engineering that are looking at the Upper West study. They did go around to several properties here in town. The ones that kind of seemed to be logical were the two catch base or the two box culverts that are needed up on Pikes Falls Road, where the drainage coming from Winhall and Stratton is generated. Goodyville Road by Lancaster's was viewed as a project. We're also looking at other kind of aspirational ideas, and they're asking the towns to come up with other ideas that are not controversial, that would promote our efforts here. There's right now $90 million that's earmarked for Vermont, and we can figure out how to spend that. Jamaica is one of those priority areas where we could probably pick 2 or 3 projects and get funding for. So we do want to look at something maybe a little bit more robust. We did pose the question also of putting in basically a new quarry rock retaining wall along Water Street. With this new stone there was only one area that our river engineer thought would be appropriate, and that would be kind of along where Andy's property is up to Tom Tolbert's. It would be a basically stacked in place stone. You would probably dig a trench and kind of build another wall outside of the first wall along Water Street to remove that elbow section. But we're gonna need to get an engineer to do it. This is basically dredging the part of the river to put in the foundation, to build the wall. It would be a huge task. But there is money for mitigation projects like that, and we're posing the question whether it would be a good candidate location. It would just be on that outside radius wall side on Water Street.
And will the folks that you were with, will they help guide us as to which are the projects to put forward?
Correct. This is kind of a pre-application process where we're showing them our issues and they're trying to develop projects based on what they see out there. And these were some of the areas that we looked at, but they're open. I mean, right now they've extended the grant process to, I think it's August 19th. It was June 21st, so it's been amended.
Then it was July now, so I guess.
So we've got time to develop projects, and that's why we want, you know, to kind of come up with some good ideas maybe that we could
Right.
present to Wyndham Regional Commission and the engineers.
Right. But it sounds like you've already addressed a bunch of topics, but we're also asking anyone, any citizen that feels that there is a hazard, in this case, flood hazard mitigation project, that might make sense for this grant. Please reach out to any board member or to Mike directly to add it to the list. But it
Yes.
seems like we have a robust pipeline of potential projects, correct? Or do you feel?
And on that note, if there was any townspeople that were impacted by the storm in December, we're still creating a list of projects. So if there are damages that haven't been identified that were attributed to the December storm, please let my office know so we can reach out and plug those in as potentially FEMA damages as well.
Now, this application, that would take some time. Like, so, the next thing about Ball Mountain debris, that project, so would they, if say FEMA shored up that bend in front of Tom's down to the corner of Water and Depot, this would go a project in front of that, or later, like years later,
It
or?
would be almost building another wall in front of the
I'm just saying,
existing
that wouldn't
wall.
interfere.
We're creating more of a radius that
Right.
ties in with the bridge.
Oh,
So
Two
debris
separate.
removal would be separate
Yeah,
from the
no,
No, that's what I
board?
mean, but one wouldn't interfere with the other, like the
They should-
first one.
Really, the debris removal's not gonna do anything to repair the embankments,
No,
unfortunately.
I
It's
didn't
just gonna
know.
pull the material out, but we're still gonna have to develop projects to
Right.
shore up those embankment areas that are kind of vulnerable.
Oh, nice
Yeah, so pursuing
seawall
all of
right there
them.
would be perfect.
Right.
That's basically what it
What it would be,
means.
yes.
Anyway.
All right, terrific, and I know that Keith went with you, so he also texted me after, he might have reached out to you also. Also felt that there were good projects. I know there's interest in Goodaville, right there by Lancaster, to do a
Yes.
box culvert. And is it still the case that we are gonna put in more than one? We're gonna seek possibly 2 or 3, knowing that we may only receive one.
Projects, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna submit probably at least 3 or 4
Okay.
through Wyndham Regional, let them kind of figure out which would be the priorities
Okay.
for our community.
terrific.
And similar on the Ball Mountain Brook, we did advertise the RFP, we sent it out. I'm gonna be putting it on the Vermont League of Cities and Towns for their inclusion as well, so the bids will be due June 24th. We're gonna have a pre-bid meeting the Thursday the 20th out at the fire station to meet with prospective bidders so they can meet with our river engineer and get a perspective on what the scope of work's going to be over and above what the RFP may ask. The state has recommended that we exclude the debris just underneath the Route 30 bridge because of the permitting. So we're gonna, our river engineer thinks that material is okay where it's located. The debris down on Depot Street under the bridge, they agree with that being removed because that's kind of in a situation where it pushes all the water towards Water Street. But they do want us to kind of amend our plan for up by the fire station.
Above the big bridge on
Yeah,
Route 30?
which we are.
Just
doing.
under the bridge, basically, to
Wow.
stay out of there right
Just stay
away.
out of
A
it.
little less of a project than a bit.
The state's worried that I think the earth moving equipment and excavator is going to run into the bridge. And they're
Oh,
worried about liability, as is the fire station too. So we just need to
That's all right.
kind of let them know that the select board kind of supports this project, and there will be some kind of hold harmless or some decision making to help move this project along. Now, the contractors will have insurance, but, I guess what is the town's obligation in this as
So
well?
the town has insurance. We would have to, talk about that with our insurer, with our underwriter, to see if if we do give an indemnity. It's a contract, and insurance pays out against contracts, so we would, it's possible that we could do that reasonably, but I think we have to just make sure that we have some risk mitigation through our own municipal insurance policy.
But if we're away from there, well, what does it matter?
There shouldn't be any concerns, but
Right.
you never know when you're dealing with these big earth-moving equipment, what could happen if a utility got hit or something unforeseen. We're just trying to protect for those potential instances.
Well, I agree with Andy. I mean, the biggest mitigation is careful work, right?
They don't want to.
If the state's gonna insist that we indemnify the state, I guess we'll have to do it. But I agree, really it's about,
We don't
Yeah.
need to be up there.
right, just not putting the equipment anywhere.
So
it
that
doesn't need to be.
pre-bid thing on, I'll talk to you later, but, so they just show up,
Yeah,
the bid's already out and they know about it and then they just
Right,
come
they're
to
gonna
find
go
out?
meet with the river engineer, he's gonna tell them exactly what they want, or what the state wants is the scope of work, what material's gonna be removed, how deep. They don't want us dredging the
Right.
river,
No.
they just want us pulling material basically from the top of the channel.
Right,
Any sedimentation that's above the average water level can be taken out, but sedimentation below the water level, they want to be kept in place.
that's way down there anyway,
Yeah.
the
So,
regular level.
Just don't go after a heavy rain.
Yeah.
and
The lowest level.
medium, small rocks will be crushed
Right.
off-site. We're at the fire station.
So,
At the town garage.
will you be there? Will someone from the town be there or they just handle it?
Well, for the pre-bid meeting, myself and the river engineer
Okay.
will be there, and we're gonna be there
Yeah, I was gonna
basically
be
every
there.
day that works.
All right.
around
I'll
the
be
clock.
Sure.
there. Most likely, Keith may even be there.
You should go, Andy,
I'll be
if
there.
you're,
Anybody can be
right,
there.
anybody can go.
Okay.
It's more to answer questions that might not be super clear in
Okay.
the
Right.
RFP.
If you hear something that's a concern.
No, I'm
that's-
just interested.
And we
Raise
want
your
people
hand.
bidding apples to apples here. We wanna make
Right.
sure that they're all looking at it from the same perspective when they come up with their quotes.
Right.
And those are the kind of the focal points right now, but
Yeah.
we've had both, we got 3 storms. I think 2021 is finally complete. I think we've
It's
satisfied.
complete from a FEMA perspective, is it complete from a state
State.
I
perspective?
think we're close. I can't promise because I thought we were there and then there was another tranche of documents we had to send to them, but we're real close.
Right, okay.
And the other 2, we're making good progress from the 2 storms last year.
Yes, so we have 400 or so, right, approved at the FEMA level for a year ago, for July 2023, right? But now we have to go through the state process. But do we have anything?
Well,
approved?
2021 is, or these funds, I think. are-
Well, 2021 is the 500,000.
Yes.
So my understanding from our FEMA guy was that in addition to the 500,000, there's 400,000 that's been committed by FEMA for the July,
Oh, yeah, the projects have been already. all-
right, they've
yes,
all been,
correct.
it's, the money's been committed, but now it's going through the state review.
Were those the projects at that meeting I was at that have been completed and are getting reimbursed for? They
Most of
wanted
them are
in?
the bigger RFP projects that
Invoices.
we worked on.
Yes.
In the
That's
fall.
that's what the
winter
four-
months.
Yeah, FEMA,
400
yeah.
is?
And FEMA's
Smith
comfortable.
Road,
I don't know which meeting.
That
Yeah.
meeting where I was there.
Oh, right, yeah.
We took
The
the other
July
2
storm.
culverts out.
Yeah, I mean, they've been kicking off 2 or 3 projects a week, just
Yeah.
saying, we need this
Okay.
little, I mean,
Right.
basically dotting the i's and crossing
Yeah.
the t's. And
They're rolling
Yeah.
now.
I mean,
It's
There's
just that,
a lot
Yeah,
of
it's-
projects.
it would be great if it were just FEMA, it's just then it goes through a whole separate
Yeah.
review by the state.
All right.
Anything else on that?
No, we had a good meeting in Stratton with the flood symposium. There's a lot of good ideas. We're also reaching out to USDA, NRCS. They've got some flood control, flood mitigation monies, so we're gonna see what they might have for us as well. We've been reaching out to the two gentlemen on the embankment repairs, but Les Wright, who was there, said now that he kind of understands what we're dealing with in Jamaica, there may be some money through the federal government to look at stormwater management, flood mitigation.
Any money, obviously we will.
We're kind of just throwing it out there. Whoever will listen, we're
Right,
trying to
exactly.
get the audience and get
Okay.
them plugged in what we're doing.
All right. Greg, anything else?
No, that's wonderful. No,
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. Super helpful. Just a couple things on town operations. So those of you who have a sufficient number of employees in your own businesses, you might know that as of the end of last month, or the first pay period of this month, all employers are obligated to remit to the state 0.44% of wages to a fund which is supporting childcare, a state fund, and it's a pretty small amount of money, and we ran the numbers. So as a municipality, we decided we're gonna cover that as a town.
How many employees does it take?
Full-time, all
I think
full-time employees.
any full-time.
Oh, you mean
One?
what the threshold is?
Yeah, was it like 25 or
No,
it's
much
little,
less.
It's almost,
10?
I think it's everybody.
Is it
one?
everybody? I thought there was one, when the legislation first came out, or was considered, I thought it was like 5?
To be honest, I
Do
did
you?
not read that deep because we don't have that.
You don't have-
so
okay.
all of ours are part-time.
Part-time.
Yeah.
I don't think it's 0, Andy, but it's low.
Right.
It's low. Both, my partnership and the town office, definitely, we triggered that threshold. Because
What's that one?
we've got the
I see that.
full-timers in the,
Yes, I get it.
garage and
Right.
all those here.
Your
The other-
payroll service will probably cover it. I mean, I don't know about it. It's a small percentage.
It's a very small
It would
percentage.
come out just like any other withholding tax.
Exactly. But rather than, contributing, pulling it out, we're grossing people up. Because it's small and it's unanticipated. It is still within our budget, which is, I guess, the most important thing. In addition, the NEMRC software that supports all of our town operations, save for the lister's office. There's 2 modules need upgrading. It's a one-time fee of combined less than $5,000. And I don't think it's in the basket this week, but it will be in the basket next week. And that's that. Any questions on that? There's no resolution or anything. I just wanted to share those 2 cost things.
Are we still, when you call here, is there a separate number to the garage and to the?
No, we haven't set up the new phone system yet. We're still,
Okay, no.
Sam is still in the process of,
But the transfer station has a phone?
Yeah.
transfer station has a
Okay,
separate phone
I just
number.
don't have the number.
Yeah.
Nope, that's all.
Oh,
And the garage phone is separate too.
Yes,
It's
I got
just-
that.
They're all on our system, but you can't transfer.
No, I didn't know whether, kind of lost track of that.
yeah. So quickly, I think most people are familiar, but, last 2 weeks ago, this time, many of us, attended the West River Education District board meeting at the Jamaica Village School, where they discussed the potential need to close the school for this upcoming academic year as a result of a lack of staffing. The school lost 2 employees at the end of the school season, and the board and the superintendent's office felt that they don't have sufficient time to fill those positions. A few days later, the actual official board meeting took place, and the board moved to indeed temporarily close the school. What I will add is that there were discussions at that meeting and at a subsequent long-term planning meeting, where while the decision has not changed, there is what I would call a deepening recognition that there is not a sufficient budget in the, let's say, near term and medium term to make the changes to the remaining two lower schools to accommodate closing a longer term, even this year's closing of Jamaica Village School, and certainly on an ongoing basis. So they're in a quandary and they're working on it. There were ideas that had been, kind of suggested around holding a pre-K and a K through 2 series of classes here at Jamaica, which would alleviate Newbrook and Townsend. But again, that's all to be discussed. And unfortunately, those board meetings happen at the same time as this meeting. So I think as that conversation over the course of the summer ripens, maybe we'll think about doing something like we did the last time, which is bring them back up here to have their meeting. Maybe they'd be so kind as to push it back a little bit. Maybe we could move ours up a little bit and then we could attend both.
And just,
Yeah.
I think they used the terminology, they suspended operations for a year. Am I right about that? Is that what the reformer printed? They
I don't
voted
know
to
what they printed, but
suspend, like, school for, no pun intended, but
Right.
for a year.
Some of us were once suspended now.
I don't know if
I
it might
guess
have been
temporary
just
or suspend, I mean,
glossing
it's
over
terminology,
closing
you
it,
know.
but it's,
Right.
yeah, but nothing's
Well,
gonna happen
it
in a
is
year.
there.
The language in the merger agreement, the articles, is a temporary closure, that the board is authorized to undertake a temporary closure. The board alone is not authorized to
No.
close the school. But as we all heard in detail, there is concern that even 1 year with the school closed without a pre-K or a K, it's tough because then you're forcing people to attend in Jamaica, which Jamaica students were forced to do anyway, but we could talk about that for hours. Any other questions on that? Okay, thanks everyone. Quickly on we're also undertaking, as I mentioned earlier, we approved the expense of the software upgrade for Patriot. After we got the proposal, I did get the full master services agreement and the service level agreement, and I did have some concerns. It's the one I circulated to the board. So I did have a conference call with our rep there. Just to share with you, the one commercial term that I found disheartening was a mandatory annual 6% increase, which is quite the eyesore. I ran that up the flagpole, but I was told from the outset that is a company-wide catalyst policy right now, and until that changes, there's no way around it. But I wanted to raise that because it's, we'll have to budget for that going forward. It doesn't really change our decision necessarily, and we have limited to no options other than that, but it was not something that was included on the proposal. So hopefully, I'm waiting for them to come back with me on the answers to the 4 changes I would really like them to make. One of which, just by example, is that it doesn't say anywhere that we exclusively own our data. Don't like that. So I think they'll probably make those changes, and I'll come back to you once it's signed. So the next, any questions on that before I go to the next one? Okay. So the next one is the Traffic and Parking Ordinance enforcement discussion. I did circulate, again, the policy and just a notification letter, because I thought I printed that notification letter out. I did, I attached it to my copy of the policy. It's really very basic, but I did want to hear if anybody had any concerns. What we can do in executive session, let's say in a couple weeks, is go over who the potential recipients are.
Are there some?
Yes, there are. Yes, there are.
I guess I had one question. Obviously there's 2 different tacks to go at this. This is to go after the observed observed violators. But do we want to maybe in addition to, but take a tack that potentially addresses the unobserved or the things that haven't happened yet? I mean, I know there's a lot of rental properties guests, even homeowners that may not be aware of this, that should be alerted to it already, or not already, but also.
Right.
Maybe it's two different tacks. And then secondly, I mean, we're talking about municipal, and that's certainly the one that we have charged over. But do we want to, again, expand the knowledge? I know sometimes there's issues with parking
On
for
state
plowing
roads,
on
you
the
mean?
state roads, and just to broaden it a little bit, and not maybe so much for this letter,
Okay.
but
general
just a
education.
generalized, maybe another letter to all the town, or maybe it's not mailed to them, maybe it's just
Right.
posted, or, but that would be my one concern. I mean, because we can't foresee
Right.
what may happen. I know there's a lot of rental properties around town that probably aren't being observed as violating, but they do.
People call in.
Okay.
And if you're
Yeah.
seeing it, you know, you should, you know.
No, but I'm
anybody
just saying
who's
there's some that
observing it-
probably we
Right.
don't see.
Right.
But anyways, that would be my only comment.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've heard, just apropos of that point of sending out a general letter to all citizens.
This has more teeth.
Huh?
Doesn't have teeth, but it's got a little bit more of a
Right,
smack to it.
right, this
Which
is
is fine.
supposed to be like, you
Yeah,
know,
hey,
I
right.
would much rather not give you a ticket.
Yeah.
Or tow your car.
Right,
Right? So please observe the parking,
right.
you know, ordinance so that we don't have to do this. That's what this is. In terms of a general notification, I mean, I feel like we talked about that at the time that we renewed that we re-upped the parking and traffic ordinance,
Yeah,
and we decided not to do that.
I don't recall, but
I mean, there was general awareness of it at that time because we were talking about it, and of course it was posted around town and it was publicized in the papers. I don't see why
It
not.
can still
I
be
think
down the
people
road.
get,
It can be still forthcoming.
I mean, I'd like to, that my view is that I think that people might be a little disconcerted by it. People get confused. Why am I getting this? I don't know if you're aware, but do you get the legendary mailings?
I do.
You get the mailing about the huge new ordinance that they're trying to, yeah. So there's just been, I've gotten questions from people, which I think it's a good question, is Jamaica gonna do this,
But people didn't read.
Right,
If you
well, it was
actually-
216 pages.
I know, but if you actually read,
Right.
there's
notice,
there's
yeah.
nothing. There's nothing.
Oh, is there nothing in
No,
it?
there's nothing.
Was there a cover note that anyway, that's.
That's legendary.
Right.
Tell them no.
So I'm always a little cautious, so I think let's talk about it before we send it out, but in terms of this
It's nothing
content.
to disagree with. That's
Okay,
right.
so then I think we would do at executive session, discuss, the information has come into this office, to the town clerk's office, and to some of us individually. So we have a short list, it can always be added to, or subtracted from, but that would be in
Usually
executive
they'll not.
session.
How does the list, citizens calling? Is that what it is?
Yes,
Do they call the police?
no.
Does anyone call the
They call the
cops for
town-
anything?
They call the town
Nothing.
clerk,
Yeah.
yeah.
Call the police if you see motor vehicle violations.
Well, these are
I mean, I know what
parking,
this
these
is.
are parking
I
violations.
know that's
right?
motor, but that's another violation. I mean, I don't wanna get in to be, having our constable getting a radar gun and all that. I mean,
No,
I know what we're
none of
doing
this
here.
is- Andy, none of this is
No, no, no.
speeding.
No,
It's
I
just
know
parking on
that.
the- Okay, all
I
right.
know
But I
that.
don't wanna tell people to call 911 because someone's parked on the sidewalk on a municipal
How
road,
come
do
nobody
we?
calls me telling me there's people parked up 2 houses up my street? Well, they don't like me, don't know my phone
They'll
number?
call you about something else.
They call the office,
They call
Andy.
everybody, yeah.
They call the office.
Wow, I'm just a little bit, my feelings are a little hurt
And
when
then
it calls me.
People don't call me, but when they see me, they're like, oh, by the way.
Yes, at the post office.
How's
Don't
that
go
going?
to the post office.
Yeah. I can't,
The neighbor has this lovely open parking area now, which is nice because people are parking over there.
right.
Oh,
I'm
really?
asking?
Yeah.
Oh, they're afraid they'll get in trouble on parking on the sidewalk.
right, good.
Not even.
Concealed interest, never mind.
Just,
Alright,
Randy,
so-
I wasn't at the meeting, but when you actually set the fine level?
No, we haven't set the fine.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if we
No,
wanted.
I wanna talk, we're
Oh, okay.
talking about that tonight.
Okay, okay.
Okay? We don't have to
I
make a
wasn't-
decision tonight, but, so what I wanted to do was kind of talk to you about what some other towns have done, and what I've heard other people would like, which is maybe a little bit higher. So, and I think I even shared that it had been suggested to me $100 for parking on the sidewalk and $200 for parking in the roadway. But I'll tell you what is very, very common among municipalities that don't have their own police force like us is an increasing amount
Right.
depending on the number of violations. Now, just as by reference, very close by, Winhall only has 2. So they have a first violation and that's $50. This is 10 years old. So I have a feeling that they might do something higher if they were given the opportunity. And $75 for the second and any subsequent violation within 30 days of the prior offense. So if you're leaving your car somewhere, it's gonna build up pretty quickly. Another, Williston, I just happened to pick because they actually had 3 levels. This is not a waiver situation. So civil penalties for parking violations, the first offense, $35, second offense, $45, third offense, $60, and it's, they don't give it a time limit. So it's not necessarily within 30 days. So it's, if you're under, whatever you're doing, if you're a repeat violator thereafter, you're getting $60 for each day that you are committing an offense. So I do kind of like that. I mean, I think 1 and I think 2 levels is a little bit easier to manage than 3. But, that's, again, I want to open it to the floor for discussion.
I certainly think there should be a
crescendo.
Whatever, crescendo, yeah. What the numbers are, if they're 35 or 50 or 75 or whatever. I think they should be substantial enough that it's meaningful, but to hit somebody immediately with $100 or $200, that's a
Seems
big
bit
hit.
severe.
So something, ramping up to that, a maximum of 100 or something.
Okay. The other thing I'll throw out there is that we have a unique area of no parking, which we talked about, which is near Hamilton Falls. So there, I know that there's definitely a desire to have it be a higher amount. And so just, we could set, because the way the ordinance is set up is that's a separate violation. So we could have a separate penalty.
2 structures of.
Not even just to say, bam, $100.
Okay.
And I know the folks that fought long and hard for that separate no parking area, including the sheriff's office, which hates what happens up there, as far as, as they've told me, and I'm not sure what they've shared with Andy. So that's a possibility that we did something along the lines of 35, 50, 75 for,
In town.
in town,
Yeah.
but that hot spot could be,
I think that makes sense because most likely those are not gonna be somebody that's repeat offenders. I mean, they could be, but they're one-time visitors potentially.
right,
And have some big number, I mean, if somebody goes up there once a year and parks and it's a $25 fine, they might just say fine.
right.
Some people budget for tickets.
Yeah, exactly, so it
Oh
should,
my
it should be
God.
meaningful.
Oh, the sheriff's department told me that.
It should be a
The budget
meaningful.
for 2 traffic tickets a year. But anyway, up there, hasn't that settled down? I'm not saying we shouldn't put a $100 fine up there, but hasn't that settled down some?
Not last summer, it was a pretty
It's
significant
settled
problem.
since COVID, I think, but it's not
Well, it was
settled.
out of control that.
Yeah, it was out of control,
It
but
was
it's
not
still,
right.
still not good.
Last summer, it was still not good.
Is the department?
The state parks
Are
has
they
been
involved in it
staffing
at
people
all?
up there, I think. I can't remember what their schedule
There was
is.
wasn't there one person?
They had, yeah, exactly, and they rotated around, they weren't there all the
Right.
time.
And do our sheriffs go up there still? Do they
Yes, they
patrol?
do.
on occasion,
Yes, they
yeah.
do.
Well, what about a $100 fine on the
This would
signs?
give them the chance to issue a $100 ticket.
Well, what about that, 100?
I would agree
For
with that.
there.
I would agree with that 100.
Okay.
Because
There.
Greg has a point where somebody even from, they come up one time, the signs are all over the place, and then they park anyway.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even do that when I was a kid, I don't think.
Right.
No, I don't think I would have done that.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve for Article 7, parking regulations, Section 1, no parking zones, subparagraph 1, West Windham Road, that violations of that no parking zone result in a ticket of $100 per violation. Can I have a second?
Okay. Now, does that mean if it's up there for 3 days, it's $300?
Yes, it is.
Well, what
Can
what triggers a tow?
be. We can tow anytime we want. We don't actually even need really a resolution around. If we kind of meet, we don't even really need to meet as a board.
No, I wouldn't hope so, because
Right.
we'll be meeting a lot.
Right. No, but we'll also talk, once we can.
We should be not in.
Once we're kind of through with the dollars, we have 2 other things. That allows us to buy the signs to put around town. So we'll go ahead and we'll order those. And then we do need to decide who's gonna have authority to issue tickets. And also, by the way, then I can order the tickets. They're these little orange envelopes with little tickets that you fill out. I think if we can do the numbers, get ourselves comfortable with the violations, and we may not agree on the next set. We can do that. I'm thrilled that we've done this. But if
I
we
just shot that number out for a number.
but it's been talked about, so it's not an irrational number, and it's
Right.
200's irrational, I think. If the 100 doesn't work, we can change it.
right.
We can.
Right.
How about 1,000? Think
Right.
that'd stop them?
Right. Seriously.
Maybe.
So in terms of the ascending violation, I've just shared with you 2 samples, but this is representative. Anywhere, although they do go up to as much as 100 for the 3rd offense, but just kind of right around us, we see 35 as the lowest and 75 as the highest in terms of the repeat. We can do 1st offense, 2nd offense, no 3rd offense, or we could do 3 offenses. How do people feel about that? 2? Angie?
I don't know, you guys.
I mean, who?
I prefer
is that
2. It's just easier to
And does that come
administer.
down to in our office here administering?
Well,
Somebody
it's
says,
whomever-
"That's their
yeah,
first one,
it's-
This is their second, this is their.
Right,
or
it's
is-
whoever the small group of folks who we're gonna kind of appoint as,
Right, okay.
empowered to write tickets. It's,
Have you got any
hopefully it's
idea?
not gonna happen much.
Yeah, and I don't
I'm
mind
hoping-
agreeing, because I think that they should maybe go up to 100 also, so that,
start lower and go
so
higher.
55, 75, 100. But just so then it aligns with the 100, it doesn't have to align. Maybe that's too complicated, you're right. And I guess the other question, are we talking sidewalk and roadway for the same fee structure?
We don't have
Don't have
to,
to.
we don't have to, again, simpler is the same fee
I
structure,
like that.
but it doesn't have, there
I
are
was just
some
curious
folks
for
where
this
it's
motion
lower.
now, are we?
Yeah, right, there are
We
some.
don't have a motion yet.
But on the other hand, if we start out lower, instead of starting at 50, 45 or 40, and then going up to 85, let's say, then it doesn't feel so bad if it's what they're doing is parking on the sidewalk. But I don't know. I mean, we don't have a lot of sidewalks in town, so,
And then, what about the people working on that garden by my house that park on the sidewalk? They're gonna get a ticket? How are we gonna be fair about
You'd have to.
who gets a ticket?
Well, you'd have to give them a warning.
well, we're not, so that's an
Because
excellent.
otherwise they're in the road or they're on the sidewalk.
That's
And
an
it's
excellent
temporary,
com- right,
It's like it's, they're
right.
mowing the lawn or whatever.
Can't
So
do
we
it for
need to
one
have
or
the
the other.
ability to enforce, but how we enforce
That's a big deal.
is a good question, and we have limited resources. I don't think we need to set up the town to the expectation that every time someone's on a sidewalk for a couple of hours, someone's running out there with a ticket. We just don't have the manpower
We don't
for that.
want to, no.
What we do have is the manpower for repeat offenders who leave their cars parked on sidewalks overnight for days. They're gonna probably get a ticket. But someone who's, exact to Andy's point, if it's someone who's been hired by the town or by a town person to do some work, that's, what I would say is personally, that's not what this ordinance is aimed at. This ordinance is aimed at people who persistently make it difficult, particularly for young people, to use the sidewalks in parts of the town. And this has been a persistent problem.
plow the road
And
and-
handicap people, the handicap people.
Handicap
They're able
people.
To get through.
Right.
On my
Exactly.
sidewalk, and the one in front of my house, every few squares has a bump out that someone can turn around in a wheelchair. And then there's ramps with braille that have a
Yeah,
crosswalk.
the bumps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So those have to be clear,
exactly.
Right.
technically,
Exactly.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes,
anyway,
yes.
that's what I mean, I get it.
Right, and I'm not.
So I was, just
Right.
to interject some, I was at a Wyndham Transportation Committee meeting today, and they were talking about all these ordinances the different towns could do about, for instance, UPS trucks too heavy driving through the all-winter mud season some towns had. And then our chair brought up, we make these ordinances, they're pretty useless if we can't enforce them. These willy-nilly ones, this isn't, but
Yeah.
we have to be able to. I know that's what
What's
we're
the point
talking
of-
about.
Right, what's the point
I
of
was
having
just
15
listening.
ordinances if you can't even enforce
They
them?
were,
You can't
they were
do
just
it.
talking about too many, not that we have too many, but that
I think we're
We-
almost on the other underside, but there's, like
we
you said, I
need to
mean,
be able to.
mud season, mud road, I mean, there's
Right.
every other time of year, there's
Right.
a new ordinance that kicks in. It's
Right,
like-
I was listening to them, I didn't want anything to do with that, but they were talking about other things that
Yeah.
they do enforce.
Right.
And like Brattleboro, they have more, of course, ways to enforce things, but anyway,
All right.
so yeah.
Does anyone want to make a motion? Shall I make a
Is-
motion? How
is-
do we feel?
Well, I have a question about, have we got any idea who the people are that might be charged with enforcing it?
Yeah, probably Rob,
Okay, that's a given,
any member of the board, any.
but we don't have to.
No,
I'm thinking
You
about,
could be deputized, but you
No,
don't
they're
have to
gonna
act
be,
on it.
right, we have to
thinking-
have a second meeting.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, we'll have
thinking,
to have a separate meeting.
future boards, they're gonna inherit all this, they're gonna inherit that responsibility of writing tickets, and I'm just curious.
But I can't
Who
foresee
else
that.
We're
might
not
be.
obligated to write a ticket.
Right,
No.
just because we
That needs
can,
to-
doesn't mean we
Right,
have
we will
to.
enforce this to
Right.
the best of our ability as a municipality
Yeah.
with the forces that we have. We will, of course, prioritize situations that are where, and we all know that there are some, where often well-traveled roadways are significantly blocked and where sidewalks have been blocked for years, frankly. And there's no sidewalk maintenance, and where in the winter plows have a difficult time. Those, of course, are our priorities. That's why I want to send out this letter in an effort to hopefully ameliorate that without having to write tickets. So to
Okay.
me, what I'm hoping that we're doing, Andy, rather than burdening subsequent boards, we're giving them a gift with a clear ordinance, with all of the enforcement mechanisms made available to them, and we'll have a small list of individuals who are deputized. I don't use that in a formal sense. And that's gonna be our process. And future boards can change that process,
No,
but
I'm
at
just curious.
least they
Who it
have
might-
one.
Who it might be.
Yeah, and we should have somebody, we should make
Yeah.
sure that everybody doesn't feel like they're not obligated. We should make sure we appoint somebody who feels obligated to do this, otherwise our
Right.
enforcement
Job.
ability drops off the plane
Right,
again.
right. It could be, in addition to Rob, it could be a member of the select board. It could be a member of the road crew. It could
Could be
be
anybody, I mean,
anybody.
could be
Could be
Charlie up
anybody.
on Pikes Falls.
Could be
On-
Charlie.
On Hamilton.
No, I can't be him.
Right.
But
I don't know,
Every
I'm sure I'm gonna
tickets
get an email
everywhere.
from Charlie saying, I don't think I want that truck,
No,
right?
But there could be
flying
anything,
everywhere.
is what I'm saying, too.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna make a proposal that we do, one set of penalties for sidewalk and roadway. And, because I go for the simplest, and I'm gonna say that we have for a first offense, second offense, and subsequent, so that's just 2 levels. So why don't we first do that? I'll make that motion that that's how we're gonna structure the monetary penalties. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. How do we feel about that?
I like the simple, and it makes, not just for us to figure it out, but for everybody to know what they're doing.
The sign will be easier.
Right, that too.
Andy,
No,
would you rather 3?
no, I'd rather not, you guys figure it out. I got no opinion on the fines.
Well, it's not the dollar right now, but just the structure.
Just the
that
structure.
Structure.
Both offenses are the same penalty. and
Right.
that there's 2
2,
tiers.
a first offense and subsequent offenses. Do you know
But
what I mean?
either way, I mean, you
Like you
obviously
get
can back
one,
out
that's,
if you don't wanna be,
Right.
that's fine.
the
Yeah.
first time you get, well,
I like the simple one.
I mean, Andy's been, you've been a connection to the sheriff's office for a long time, so any insight that you have that you.
I don't have any more than you do.
Okay. All
And
right.
just, will they be able to do this if they wanted to?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Alright, so that's-
yes.
That might be
Yes.
where we start.
In fact,
Yeah.
to the extent that we ever undertake to remove a vehicle,
Right,
they are gonna be the point on that, together with whomever is enforcing it at that time. All right, any further discussion? If
Do
no
we have a
further-
dollar amount for those?
Not yet. First, it's the structure. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Andy, are you abstaining? or
yes, I think I will,
Okay.
just because I'm affiliated with the sheriff's department. That's a pretty good excuse.
That's a stretch, but I'll take it. So,
Not affiliated,
Finish up on
but
the
the
dollar
liaison.
sign for,
what would you, what,
we need
so,
to finish up.
yeah, the dollar fines. So, guys, what are we thinking? What are you thinking?
For the tiers?
The tiers. Thoughts?
Oh, no, I was thinking about the Hamilton Falls.
We did already. We already voted that that's 100.
100.
Yes, 100.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Flat out, yeah.
Yeah. I'm fine with 50, 75. I'm fine with 50, 100.
I am too, on both either.
Yeah, either or. What do you think, Lynn?
1,500.
50, 100? Andy, I know you don't have to vote, but you can
Okay.
express an opinion.
I don't know, 50, 75 maybe. That's like day after day? Is that the one?
Yeah,
And then every day thereafter,
yeah.
it's
And
75.
I would tend to think like that too, that
50, 75.
And it's more than likely gonna be.
2 days, in which case,
Right, and it's not,
Call
Right.
them.
our goal here is to have
Right.
them not park there. The goal
Right.
isn't to.
it's to have a
Right.
strong enough disincentive so
Right.
that they don't do it.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Right.
And I think if
little bit
it's
of
a
sting.
frequency issue.
Right.
The or the incentive or disincentive, whatever is there already, just, it doesn't have to go to 100.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion that for a first offense, the ticket is $50. And for the second offense and any subsequent offense, it is $75 for each offense, no time limit. Do I have a second?
The second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And do you want to abstain or?
Yes, please.
Okay, and one abstention. All right, so what that's gonna mean now is we can go ahead and order signs, which is terrific. So what I'd like to do at a subsequent meeting is to go over the list of individual homeowners that will receive the letter, and to go over a map of the village and kind of align on where we want to place the signs.
Should we
And
include,
that-
excuse me,
Yeah,
should we ask for Keith's input on that, maybe where the
Keith
signs?
and the sheriff. Keith and the
Because
sheriff.
Keith's gonna
I
have
think
to
so.
Right.
plow by them and
Right.
Right,
that's
right.
what I'm thinking.
Right.
Right.
Keith, yeah, and I would like the sheriff's department to weigh in on that.
Of course.
So Andy, if you wanna ask Mark, you can, or I'll send Mark the map and email, and copy you on the email
Okay.
and say that we're looking to, okay?
Yeah, Mark, I've been dealing with the captain lately.
He's good too, he's good.
Yeah, I think he's delegating some of the responsibility now, or he's not around a lot.
Well, I like to send it in to Mark,
Yes.
and then if he wants to,
Right, oh, I know.
yeah. All right, well, listen, thank you so much, that was, and those aren't always easy discussions, and,
I think the
we were really
signs,
productive.
I know we're out of discussion, but
yeah,
the sign should be a deterrent.
Right.
It should be a
that's the
help.
idea.
And knowledge is a huge
help.
deterrent.
At least we can
Yes,
say,
I certainly hope so.
there's a sign, there's signs all
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? Okay. I hope to have the rest for the next meeting, but I'm not gonna promise it. We may be going into July on that, but I'll do my best. The next item is the follow-up discussion on the Recreation Committee, and I don't have the information for that on the list, so I'm gonna defer that again.
Okay,
All right. And then that's it for the substantive matters. I'll make a motion that we approve the timesheets for the town office, listers, highway, and transfer station. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Great.
Is that how-
I don't know if we have new ones.
yeah.
I don't think we have new ones. Or they might be in the
I'll
blue
look.
sheet. Yeah, take a look. Mary would have done them. Second is to review and approve the pay orders. I make a motion to approve the pay orders. All those in, can I have a second, please? Thank you, Len. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Unanimous, thank you. So, any public concerns? I was gonna raise one thing.
Before I forget,
Please.
I could have done this in a phone call. Someone lives on West Jamaica Road was asking me if they were gonna did we use calcium chloride for dust or whatever they use?
We have used it, I don't think anything's gone down this year yet.
I think
Maybe-
Warden Hill got.
Oh, okay, I guess
Or he
I
asked-
don't get it.
A resident asked if the town could do that because they're getting dusted out.
Okay.
On West Jamaica?
Yep, and I'll leave his name out of it. And then he said they had just graded it, and I said, well, that's probably what they were waiting for, but I neglected to call you. And
Okay.
pass that
I can pass
information.
it to Keith. I mean, direct line to Keith. I mean, usually that's what
I
happens
didn't
this
want
time
to
of
just
year.
call
I could text him right now.
Yeah, no,
Well,
I can actually.
That was like
Fine.
like a week ago. The post office, every time I go in,
Yeah? Someone?
wants
It's
to
been kind of a
come
dusty
and
We
talk
get
Right,
dust
right.
and like trying not to sneeze.
town stuff. They never call, they never pull in.
Yeah, it's
They
only when
grab
they
me
see
at the
you.
post
It's
office.
only when they see
Yeah.
you.
You're
Yeah,
the post
okay.
office guy.
So two things. Mike, I did get, I got an email from a homeowner on Goodaville, and I can't remember, I thought I sent it to you, and I think it relates to the work that's gonna have to happen in the hot spot, before the bridge. I'll send that to you.
It's the one on 904, they've been wearing everybody out in the state of Vermont.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll forward it,
To the
you tell
point
me,
where
if it
it's
is, but
It's really getting
I'm
obnoxious.
just not sure if it is or not, so you can
It's
tell
not even
me.
our permit, right? I mean, it's.
Now, we're waiting for we don't have a floodplain manager right now for the
Right.
state, and trying to get somebody here has been.
It's been
big feat.
a challenge, okay, understood. The other thing is that, folks who come, I can't remember, Andy, maybe it was you who I was talking to about that? So we do have a continuing issue with, folks that don't pick up after their dogs in the village.
And by my house.
Everywhere along.
All the way
yeah,
down.
Because,
And I
Depot
don't mean to
Street,
interrupt,
Water
but when they're
Street.
being good, sometimes they bag it and leave it on my
And
sidewalk.
literally,
In front
that's
of
what
my
people
house.
are doing.
I'm on the select board,
Bagging it and leaving
leaving
it on the
bags in front of
ground.
my house.
Right. So
That's
there
what
has
I
been a request.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Believe me, nobody likes that. It's disgusting. There's been a request for us to consider The receptacles, maybe putting one or two, one near the Memorial Library, maybe one, like Andy is saying, is kind of on the way from the state park.
Especially the sidewalk across the street, that is like the
Right.
main drag lately.
So the only thing there is, and I haven't done the research, they have to be emptied. And I don't know if that's like something Casella does, but this has been, I did a very informal poll, and Windhall has this, Stratton has it, and it's not fun to clean those things out. So I'm just giving everybody a warning that we do need to look into it, because it is a continued awful problem. And like the library has left out bags for people, and what do? They fill the bag and they leave it on the lawn. I mean, it's
Could bring it down to my
astonishing.
house.
Or they wait till they get, that they're not as visible to people in town, and then they, surreptitiously.
I mean, it's kind of pathetic, but it's also
Does
kind of
someone-
logical maybe to leave them.
Right, but they don't, I mean, in New York City, if that's,
Right.
you can get a giant ticket for doing that. So
Right.
people hold it until they get to a garbage pail.
Right.
Yeah.
Could we ask the state park, what do they, does Casella pick? I know it's something I don't really want to talk about,
I
Right.
have no
You
idea.
know,
I'd have to do the
What does
research.
Windhall and Stratton do? Do you know?
but they got.
I don't know, I'm gonna find
Jamaica
out.
State Park.
Oh,
They have
Stratton, it's
huge-
just the town staff, and it's awful.
Alaska assistant
It's
manager.
awful. Windhall's assistant manager?
No,
Oh,
talk
he
to the
left.
assistant
Right.
manager at Jamaica State Park and ask.
Yeah, ask.
I think they
Right.
throw it in the dumpster. I mean,
Yeah.
they got they got the
I
things too,
think
but
I think
people,
someone on the staff
people don't
does
pick
it,
it
and
up.
it's just, I can't, the thought of like asking
Asking somebody.
someone who's a staff member of our town to empty it, I just can't bear it, so, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
only one voice on
Kinda
this
like giving
board, but
tickets.
No,
so,
this
I
is
think I
much
have to do
worse.
some research and find
Good
out.
clean job
Right,
ticket,
if
right?
there's a solution.
This
You know,
is,
there are these
my
companies
job.
that, like, if you have a compost toilet, there's these companies that pick up, your tanks and stuff like that. I'm like, maybe they have a side business,
Yeah.
you
The
know, I
park
mean, I
must
don't know.
know. The park has to know what to do besides burying it.
I don't know that they bury it, I think that they
Transfer
empty the receptacle and they take it to the transfer station.
Or Casella, they got pickup down here.
Oh, they do, they have Casella down. Does Casella go over the bridge? They do?
Somebody
I
must.
don't know.
I don't know.
They got
The small
dumpsters
truck,
there.
They've got,
They have their own small truck, which I thought
Right.
goes up to our transfer station, but I could be wrong.
they do go across there, but I don't know what the truck is.
Just for the record, it's not my dogs. If it was, you'd know it.
Right, exactly.
Be
That would not be a little doggy
Be
bag.
biggest round in the center. Okay,
All right.
this is a wonderful
Any other public
discussion.
concerns? Well, it's,
I
the
know.
thing is, as you well know, it's a painful one.
It starts at about 5:30 in the morning, they start going by,
that's terrible.
my dogs bark out the window, I'm like, what are you doing? Out the curtains,
Yeah, they're-
what are you doing?
They're busy having their
I
dog.
just got up.
Yeah.
Right. All right, I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Okay.
Yes, okay, thank you, everyone.